Good day, folks. These are the instructions for application project 2 for financial statement analysis. Brief summary of the project. It is worth now 18 points, 18% of your grade. So it is a very important component of your grade, and you should allocate appropriate time for this. It builds on our project 1. You're going to be working on the same company, but it builds on it and it has to be integrated into it. There are 6 distinctive parts of this project, and the parts in the instruction for each one are identified. It's due no later than 11:59 p.m. on April 1st, 2021, so you have a couple weeks to do this. I'm going to be reviewing and grading them as submitted. Hopefully you'll submit them early. If you're not sure of something or want to review before submitting, just feel free to contact me. Submission format is PowerPoint or Prezi, whichever you prefer to use. Do your work in Excel though, and copy paste into PowerPoint, and then use the notes section and attach the Excel worksheet so I can follow that and see what the logic is if you to make sure you're on the right track. Please use the video or audio for those slides that are appropriate, analytical, and explanatory. Remember, I can read, but help me understand. What I think you did, what almost everybody did in the first project was really great, and the audio, video really added so much more to what it was. You could help me understand without me reading. So I think that was really very well done for the most part. What's the purpose of this assignment? I think sometimes we want to stop and say, well, why are we doing something? And in this case, it's for you to be able to analyze a firm's historical performance. Okay? This is what you're doing at this step, historical performance. Interpret the investor presentation in 10K. Demonstrate the ability to use and build defined models, Excel models. Be able to present information in an easy comprehend format, balancing too much with too little information. Use notes and attachments. You can talk about those things. Lastly, as we look at this, what skills are you going to develop? Your ability to read and interpret a 10K, a starting point for any financial analysis you will do, fundamental. You'll build your Excel skills, and you'll develop your presentation skills. So these are skills that you're going to learn by doing this and develop that you'll be able to use in the future. How is the project graded? Same as last time. Organization and presentation is key. Okay. Communication demonstrates understanding. Accuracy of computations and formulas. Do you got it right? Clarity and depth. Do you really understand it, or are you asking a question? Go one step further. How are topics integrated? You did project 1. How are you going to now integrate that? How does one area impact the other? How do they relate to each other? Let's just take a moment and talk about integration of part 1 into this. Everything builds on what was done in project 1. You're not starting over. Your fundamental base is there. Don't just take project 2 and add it on. I don't want you to do that, because there's you want it to be smooth. Integrate them. Organize them in a way that is easy to understand and it flows. So if we're talking about sales / revenue, talk about it all at one point. Don't let it be here, here, and here. Follow it through on a logical basis. Now you remember, you already started that in project 1. And slides should build on each other. As you've raised my curiosity, you've made a point, now you want to do it. You don't need to redo part 1, not at all. You need to incorporate those slides that work. Okay? And your audio video can go right along with it. I made comments on part 1. Okay? Everybody got a comment on part 1. You need to incorporate those comments into your next submission. Okay? Failure to do so will result in a penalty. Okay? So that's the integration of part 1. So what is actually going to be required besides this integration? Okay, here are the tasks for part 1. We're gathering information. there is a lot of information that is out there about the company. So the first thing we want to do is extract the data from the 10K or 10Q into Excel, then create the schedules below in Excel, and then organize them into PowerPoint. The first thing is create a 5-year summary income statement with oldest to newest. Okay? You want to select the most important parts. We don't need every line. Then create a 5-year common size income statement, again, oldest to newest, because we want to be looking at trends. And then show the income statement graphically in a meaningful way. How can you show that real quickly as we get started? Same thing, summary balance sheet, common size balance sheet, and then a 5-year summary of the cash flow. It's only worth 2 points, but this is you got to get this right so that you can move into the rest. So we're taking a lot of data, we're going to narrow it down, and then we're going to understand it. So those are the things that you should be doing. Notice I'm subconsciously moving this. Summary is a summary. You don't use everything. What's material? Okay, so when you're looking at a number of 10 billion, 20 million is not material. So you want to put those material items in. What's useful? Remember the Pareto, 20% gives us 80% of our results, 20% of the work. So in the same thing with this information, 20% of the data gives us 80% of the results. So it becomes important for both the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. We don't need everything. We can't focus on everything. You got to narrow things down. Combine them that you can keep the key pieces, but summary, summary, summary. Usefulness. What's useful? If you have a whole page of stuff and you just bring the numbers in, that's not useful information. What are you going to do with some of that information? So you don't want to miss stuff, okay? But yet we don't need everything. Where should what information should be used? Use the 10K for fiscal years that have already ended in 2020. Okay? Now, if your company is in the third or fourth quarter of their fiscal year, then you need to annualize the 6 or 9 month results for the income and cash flow statement. Balance sheet, you can assume the most recent quarter is the year end. The reason we're doing this is 2020 has been a very unique year for so many businesses. There's so many things that have changed. So if you got a question on how to do that, again, let me know. So that's part 1. Part 2, analysis of revenue or sales. This is probably one of the key parts. What do you want to do? Based on the financial information that you gathered, create a 5-year chart of sales revenue. That's going to come right from your summary income statement. And then show the annual and 5-year sales growth in dollars and percent. You can do this all graphically. Look pretty cool. Then explain the changes in sales for the years, each year, by breaking down the change by business segment into rate and volume components. You've already done this, so you've gotten some feedback on it. I want to do it for all of the years. Then, once you get the data there, you want to explain the reasons or actions that cause the rate of or volume to change components. Okay? So you might say that the volume increased because FedEx bought new planes and they had more capacity. Okay, that's meaningful. Or if you're looking at FedEx, you can say the cost of fuel went down and therefore you reduce the prices to the customer. Or fuel went up and they had to raise prices. So try to identify what is the strategy or factor that influenced that change in rate or volume. Next thing, this is 6 points. It's a lot of work. This is what you need to do. This is what you got time to do. Okay? You got time between you looking at this, and hopefully you're looking at this early March, and you got 3 weeks and not looking at it on March 31st. But discuss, how did the company apply ASC 606? We're bringing some of the accounting stuff back in. What's the impact? Next question, what more information on sales should be disclosed? Many of you had questions. Well, why didn't they tell me this? Why didn't they tell me that? Well, that's what you should identify, but you got to keep that in mind that maybe that's telling you something about the company. Coming back to this, say, what is a summary of what this is? That's your common size. What does it mean? Interpretation. And then, why does it matter? What are the implications? Why is it important? So keep that in mind. Continuing on, once you do sales, we're going to move on to the rest of the income statement. That's worth 3 points. Because once you understand the sales, everything else sort of just flows from there. So you're going to evaluate cost of goods sold. The graphic trend of the gross margin for 5 years, compare it to the industry. You're going to find there's some industry data that is provided out there for you to use. Comment and explain on any variances in the trend. What's changed? Okay. Now remember, you can't say increased sales changing. No, because we're looking at the gross margin. Okay. Keep that in mind. The growth in sales should not cause a decrease, or it should, in a perfect world, should remain the same. If it goes up, there was a reason for why the margin went up. Are they using more capacity of their plants? Did they engage in some technology to reduce costs? If it went up, why did it go up? What happened to the price of commodity changes? So the specific one I want to make sure you address is, how do changes in commodity costs impact revenue and gross margin? Now, some of this is new stuff, so when you look at the sample I put out there, you may not see all of this because this is new. I'm adding this in. How commodity costs. That's a new piece. Review all other expenses. Explain any big variances. What's the detail? Prepare an analysis of the tax provision for 3 years. What's happening with tax? It's part 3. Part 4, cash flow and working capital. Compute simple free cash flow. Evaluate and discuss the firm's liquidity. Look at it from quantity, timeliness, the velocity of it, and the quality of it. You want to show all of your work in computations. Okay? The liquidity becomes very important, and we saw that, how important it was early when looked in 2020, once COVID hit and companies did not have all the cash flow coming in. And then complete the stress test on your company. That's 3 points. 5, capital. What is the capital structure? What's the relationship and extent of leverage? What's their capacity to pay back debt? Okay. And I think this is where, for those of you working on Bed Bath & Beyond as an example, this will be a very interesting exercise for you, especially that the firm's ability to pay back debt. What does the firm have as additional credit capacity? If something happened, would they be able to borrow money? And that would be disclosed in the 10K. Task for part 6, evaluate ROE. What's it telling us? So first you do ROE, ROIC, return on invested capital. Comment on the trend in comparison to industry averages. Interpret what that ROIC means. Then complete the DuPont analysis of 5 years and explain why where earnings are coming from. Is it the efficiency? Is it the use of capital? Is it the leverage? Okay, good thing to do. This project covers everything so far. As I've mentioned, everything should be covered in an integrated manner. Consider trends. Trends are always important. Don't get latched on to a single point. This is about both quantitative and qualitative. We need to get the quantitative right so that we can add the qualitative. Then you collect the data, organize data, and present, communicate it. Then you analyze and tie it together. What should you expect? Well, everything you should need will be in the 10K or the 10Q, okay, or the investor presentation. Sometimes you got to make assumptions. If you're going to make assumptions, just share them. What are the assumptions you make? Where did you get additional information? I think this should take you a good 10 to 15 hours. Visualization and formatting is important. If you have questions, just make sure you let me know.